There are strategies teachers use every day to effectively communicate with students. And we know traditional learning is different than project problem-based learning, so it makes sense the strategies used by teachers will vary. Let's explore 4 strategies: team formation, inquiry-based guidance, active participation, and questioning techniques. In our introduction to the curriculum, we explain students lead PPBL, and teachers provide coaching and support. You might remember we talked about having the class work in teams. So the first strategy we want to look at is the formation of those teams. Depending on the size of the class, you may have 2 or 3 people per team. One way to build teams is to let students self-select. Of course, this might not be the best idea because students will want to be with their friends, and good friends don't always mean good working partners. A better option is for the teacher to put together teams. Look at students who have complementary skills and abilities and consider personality types. Will they be a good balance? Can they challenge each other? Do they trust each other? Selecting a good team is an important first step. You also need to be sure students understand that each one of them is responsible for the learning, even though this is a group effort. The next strategy focuses on how the teacher responds to questions. It might be easier to just answer a question directly or give specific instructions. However, to be an effective coach, you need to listen to what students are asking, and then use inquiry-based guidance to help them find the answer to the question. Asking intelligent and challenging questions will help students be accountable for their work. So for example, instead of saying, "Here is a link to some research you should read," you might say, "Have you thought about doing some research?" Don't answer the question. Instead, ask them a question. This moves the activity from teacher-centered to student-centered and helps students become creative problem solvers. The next strategy is active participation, which is defined as consistent involvement of all the students in all learning. This is the goal, but it's easier said than done. Here are some options. You can engage an individual student, a team, or the whole class. Let's say you ask Tom a question.
So what are the 3 key topic areas I covered today?
Then you ask the whole class.
Raise your hand or give a thumbs up if you think the answer was correct.
This is often called a dipstick. Just as you use a dipstick in a car to check the oil, you dipstick students quickly to check for understanding. If you want to engage the whole class, you ask a question.
Write down 10 things in your engineering notebook that happened in your design solution test.
Then you go around to each team and check for participation. Here's another example. Let's say you ask Mary to answer a question, and you tell the class they have 3 choices.
Okay, so if you agree with Mary's answer, put your thumbs up. If you agree with Chris's answer, but you have something more to add, just put 2 fingers up. And if you disagree with Mary's answer, put your thumbs down.
Then ask the class to raise their hands if they understand your directions. That's a quick way to make sure the entire class understands what's been asked of them. It takes skill to draw out information, and it accomplishes these 3 things. The first is that you elicit fundamental cognitive information, the facts. The second is that you determine the student's level of understanding of information and acquisition of skills. And then the third accomplishment is to raise students' thinking level, to stimulate their thinking, to lead them to new vistas and engage them in the joy and excitement of learning. Questioning techniques can break the silence and encourage participation. Sometimes students are reluctant to answer questions, to speak up immediately. It doesn't mean they don't know the answer. Maybe they're not comfortable or confident. Perhaps you asked a quick question to an individual student. You said to Elizabeth,
"Tell me what you think about the engineering design process."
You directed the question to her, so she may be the only person thinking about the question because you put her on the spot. A better way to encourage participation might be to ask the entire class to think about the question. Give them time to consider an answer. Wait time can vary from 30 seconds to a minute. Watch the room and you'll see when people have processed the information and are ready to respond.
I want you to know there are no wrong answers. Everyone needs to participate because that's how you learn. So, who wants to go first?
You are likely to get lots of answers. some great, some not so great. How you respond will determine future participation. If you make someone feel dumb because the answer was stupid, they may not volunteer again, and others might clam up. Instead, encourage students by saying things like, "That's an interesting perspective," or "I had not thought of it that way." This type of response dignifies the student. You might ask if any other teams have a different response. Then ask teams to confer and come up with one. Have them share with the larger group. Another option after you get a few answers is to ask each team to write down their list of answers. Then post them on the whiteboard for comparison so everyone learns from it. Another way to encourage participation is to give each team a different question to respond to. They work together and one team member reports out. Another strategy is to ask students to design the questions about something they just finished working on, and then write the answers in their engineering notebook. You turn the tables and make them think. An experienced teacher sets the tone for the class to be able to openly discuss ideas. Make sure that the environment is safe by modeling encouraging and welcoming behavior, and dignifies students' guesses and solid answers. That way no one is embarrassed or feels awkward. Instead, you build trust and confidence. Using the strategies we discussed here, like team formation, inquiry-based guidance, active participation, and questioning techniques, can help make PPBL a productive and effective means of learning.